Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 431st episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So this is one icon who I've been trying to get onto the page pretty much since the channel's inception, but for whatever reason, I've had extreme difficulty finding any of the King T albums that I wanted on vinyl. That is up until recently when I was able to get his 1995 LP, For Life, and while I love this project, I probably would have chosen to start with one of his earlier releases, but considering this is all I have to work with at the moment, I decided I'd much rather tackle it now instead of putting off this veteran any further. However, you really can't go wrong with any of his first three albums, which began with 1988's Act a Fool, and would go on to 1990's At Your Own Risk and 1993's The Triflin' album. But even though King T was nearly a decade deep in the game by the time he released his fourth studio full-length here, the legendary collective he formed in '92 wouldn't truly come to fruition until the mid to late '90s. And of course I'm alluding to the Liquid Crew, a supergroup of sorts that was comprised of names like Jay Wells, Stylistic Jones, Declaim, Defari, Phil de Agony, along with a number of acts that I've already covered on the page in the past, like the Alcoholics, Loot Pack, or Exhibit, who all ultimately fell under this tree of influence planted by King T. In fact, while the Alcoholics and Loot Pack were already on the roster by 1993, Exhibit wouldn't officially be solidified as a member until he appeared on the Alcoholics sophomore LP Coast to Coast, as well as the project we're focusing on today, which both dropped in 1995. And this was essential in setting X up for a successful solo debut, which came the following year in '96 with At the Speed of Life. I've always sort of viewed King T and his position as the founder of Liquid Crew as a California parallel to Gang Starr Foundation on the East Coast, where both outfits did a fantastic job of marketing and standing behind the artists in their collective, to the point where many of them would be able to go off and create their own world of influence. In fact, when I really think about it, I would argue that Liquid Crew actually succeeded Gang Starr Foundation in that department, because even with insanely influential acts like MOP on their side, not only was Exhibit a massive force in West Coast rap music, but you really can't ignore the amount of impact that Madlib would go on to have all on his own, not to mention through collaborations like Madvillainy. But back to the man of the hour, while King T had already made his mark as a trailblazer in the late 80s and early 90s, he wasn't content just taking a backseat and relishing in his pioneer status. Instead, he came with this killer LP right in the middle of the decade, when the genre was arguably at its most competitive and transformative, and even if it isn't necessarily remembered or held in the same light as certain other releases from that year like Tupac's Me Against the World or Mobb Deep's The Infamous, at the end of the day, this is still an extremely solid release that almost kind of served as a victory lap, considering how well acclaimed and essential all of his output up until this point had been. And he didn't even stop there, as he gave us one more quality project before gracefully retiring, with 1998's Thy Kingdom Come. One thing every King T album has in spades is grimy, hard-hitting production, as well as clever, well-written lines delivered with plenty of attitude. And one song that really highlights his knack for schemes and rhyme patterns is the second track on the LP, which he kicks off rapping, "It's the POOH in the sky, I don't need a cape cause I'm already fly like a skydiver, a brother got dragged like a race car driver. Plus Iva spits saliva, liver than MacGyver, bam, bump mo bitches than a drunk driver. Faster than a crackhead, mo powerful than a loco. When I got you in a chokehold, I'm here to rid the city of them whack-ass groups. Them whack-ass lyrics with them whack-ass loops. They fakin' like gangsters, turn into a kryptonite. They don't faze me cause we can still fight. But look, it's all about coming up and away without bummin', but a brother don't need no Wonder Woman, I wonder who she been shuckin' and jivin' and fucking, or some bitch named Lois cause the hoe is the lowest. And she's wired than snow is, I think I'll fly back to the hood. Kick it with the homies where you know it's all good. I'll be the first superhero with a strap, I know I'm all that. Like most of the other Liquid Crew classics, For Life has a sonic direction that is decidedly more boom bap and East Coast inspired than many of their contemporaries, but they still always kept some West Coast flair in their style. And these innovative, all-encompassing beats were handled by a talented group of producers, including Broadway, Big Mo X, The Mike Professor, DJ Pooh, Grand Mixer DXT, Mark Sparks, Nikki Nicole, Rashad, Sledge the Rough Edge, TR Funk Igniter, E Swift, Thiad, and King T himself. As for the guest appearances on this thing, we have a mix of Liquid Crew members, along with a few of the names who assisted with the production, and these included DJ Pooh, Rashad, E Swift, and the rest of the Alcoholics, Breeze, Exhibit, and Nikki Nicole. When it comes to my overall 3 favorites on this one, I think I'm gonna have to leave out the track I read some lyrics from. That way I can make room for tracks like 3 Strikes Ya Out, You Can't See Me, and Dippin' Remix. As for honorable mentions, I do want to give a nod to moments like Duck, Dippin', Down Ass Loke, Freestyle Ghetto, Let's Get It On, Check the Flow, and Advertisement. Thank you for watching my 431st video. Next time we have a legendary trio that hasn't been on the channel since the early days, so look out for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this top tier listen are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.